Hello, Mr. Gazda here. 70 homework. Here we go. You want to have your notes with you, probably. Notes packet 60, and you want to have a reference table for sure, some colored pencils. Here we go. Write the name and symbol for each type of front. If you don't know it, you may not be sitting down knowing this. This is something you want to know. This movement here is moving this way and this way. The name of this front is a stationary front. Stationary front. The symbol for it is going to be on page 13 of the reference table. These are the fronts. Stationary front is this. This is the opposite to cold. So these things, warm is on this side, cold's on that side. We're not going to worry too much about that. We're just going to draw it in just so you can see it's like rounded, pointy, rounded, pointy, rounded, pointy. That would mean cold on this side, opposite to pointy, warm on this side, that way is what that would mean. This one here. This is warm air going up over cold air. Notice it's kind of a gradual slope. This is a warm front. The symbol, again, from page 13 of the reference table is these are just the rounded humps like this. Okay, so like this, rounded. And it's good to color them in. I'm going to save some time so this video is not super long and not color them in. That would mean warm air going this way. It kind of acts like an arrow, so it's going that way. That's important to know. Make sure you know that. This one here is... notice the code is a cold air moving into warm. The warm air gets forced up. Kind of a steeper nose. This diagram doesn't show it great, but this is a cold front, the front of cold air, cold front. And then the symbol for that, as shown on the reference table, are the triangles. Make sure your triangles look like triangles and your rounded humps look like rounded humps. That would mean cold on this side, and it's moving this way. This way is what that means. This, as the cold air and cooler air sandwiches the warm air and it pushes it all up. This is an occluded front, so know that. And then this is this symbol, so the alternating rounded versus triangles, occluded. Okay, and then the symbol would be like rounded triangle. And I'm taking great care to make my rounded ones very rounded and my triangular ones very triangular. So that's important. You need to do that, or else it's difficult to tell what it is. All right. 2. Write H or L in the center of each pressure system, high or low. And you're going to go by the wind. Okay. Wind is the movement of air, and wind always moves from high to low, trying to reach equilibrium. So the high has to kind of go towards the low. So it goes out of a high into a low, out of a high. Don't forget the clock is high, the counter is low. So it goes, the clock is high clockwise and the counter is low counterclockwise. So this is counterclockwise and in, so that's the low. And then this must be the high. It goes out and spirals out clockwise. I do want to point out this weather system in the U.S. kind of moves this way. Kind of moves this way towards the northeast from the southwest. That's key. We'll use that coming up. Page 2. For each diagram below, write whether it shows the center of a high pressure area or the center of a low pressure area. So this is the ground. It says convergence. So imagine you're there. Okay. And what's happening to the air here? Well, the air is moving in. And it's rising, air is rising, and it's going to cool, reach its dew point, and get clouds. So you have two things. Where does air move in, and where does it rise and cause a lot of clouds? Low pressure. Okay, I like this diagram because it shows it. And this is a high pressure, so this air kind of piles up here and pushes down. And so if you're a person right there, what's the air doing here? Moving outward. Air at the surface is moving outward. You can't see the curvature, but it's moving outward. You see no clouds here. The air will actually do the reverse. It will compress, warm up. It could hold more water vapor, so it's usually really clear here. This is a high pressure. Okay, and this is sort of the idea of why you have it going out of a high pressure here and why you have air going into a low. There's less pressure pushing down here, so it's like let off so that the air rushes in and it goes up, and then it kind of goes out the top. This is another picture of a front. Look, cold air mass, warm air mass. Notice the shape of the cold air mass here, okay, and the warm air moving up like this. This is the front of cold air moving into warm. So this is a That's actually this answer. It's a cold front. Okay. 4. Explain why the warm air is forced upward. Why is the warm air forced upward? It is because it has lower density than the cold air. So the cold air is higher density, will stay towards the ground, and the warm air will be pushed upward because the warm air is less dense. That's very key. That's very important to this. I'm not going to write it in there to save time. Describe the weather conditions usually caused by this type of front. Cold front. Look at, you have all this air being kind of forced upwards. You have a narrow band of clouds, and if you're here, let's say, and this is moving towards you, this picture doesn't show it too narrow, but it is basically a narrow band of clouds, and they're really tall, so it's going to be brief, heavy rain, and it's followed by cooler temperatures. So you get that heavy thunderstorm type, maybe rains for 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 40 minutes, something like that, and then it passes and it goes away fairly quickly, cool air behind it. Typical cold front weather. Okay, that's 6. On the next page, starts over number 1, barometric pressure. Okay, match up the last 2 digits of your locker number with the 2-letter code that's next to it, and write that next to your name on the front of your paper. Thank you. Here we go, more of this. These are our choices right here. They're actually in the reference table too, but I put them on there. So just determine, first thing you want to do, over water, over land. Over water, then it's maritime. M means maritime, and that means over the water. And then is it near the tropics, near the equator, or is it in the polar regions? And it's in the tropic regions. Do that one. This one here is kind of over Canada, so that's going to be continental, and it's not in the tropics. It's actually closer to the pole, so that's CP. Lowercase capital has to be lowercase and capital. They're actually on there too, and the reference table. Let's do this one. Over water, maritime, and it is far from the equator towards the poles, maritime, polar. This is going to be continental, tropical, because it's pretty far south, closer towards the equator. This is going to be maritime, tropical, over the water. This will also be maritime, tropical, okay, over the water. So a little bit of land, a little bit of Florida's in there. Nope, don't worry about that. Overall, this is over the water. It's going to have a lot of moisture in it. And then this one is maybe a little hard to see. The ocean, the Pacific, and like I think it's mainly the Pacific. Not the Bering Sea, maybe.
Ms. Ruiz, please dial 4002.
And there's another announcement. Always fun when those come on when I'm filming these. Here we go. So that's going to be maritime, polar. Okay, people tend to get the hang of those fairly quickly, so that's good. Make sure you have the hang of that, because it's one of the more straightforward things that we do. Okay, I'm going to skip this because I think people are doing okay with this. Okay, I'm just trying to save some time. This video's already, I'm already at 9 minutes here, plus 9 minutes. So this is going to be, this is a cold front. Okay, and this is a warm front. You got to label all the, look at all the things here. Warm front. Okay, this is now going this way, but cold front. See the narrow band of clouds, heavy rain. So this is a cold front. Cold front symbol. Pointy triangles. This is a warm front. Front of the warm air. Notice the gradual slope, wider band of rain. It doesn't show that it's less intense. They don't have intensity really shown here, but you shouldn't have to see that by now. Warm front. And the symbol for it are the rounded. Okay. So that you should be able to do. Okay.
You are traveling to the security checkpoint for all these dates.
This is possibly some of the trickier parts. Some people have trouble just even reading this. So, diagram 1 shows a low-pressure system. That's this. Fronts extending from the low are shown as it's just a typo. I wrote that as the counterclockwise movement. What did I write here? Fronts extend from the low. Fronts extending from the low are shown, supposed to say showing the counterclockwise movement of surface winds. Draw an arrow showing the direction this low will most likely move over the next 24 hours. Hint, page 14 of the reference table can be helpful. If you don't remember, I apologize for this typo here, sorry about that. If you don't remember how weather moves in the U.S., you should kind of know it is in the notes, but if not, you could look here and realize that the U.S. is located in this band right here, okay, between 30 north and 60 north. And therefore, general winds are from the southwest towards the northeast. To draw an arrow on there, draw an arrow showing the direction. That arrow would be like this. Okay, so all this is moving around here, and this whole entire thing is moving as well. That's the general direction. Maybe that way, okay, or maybe this way, but that general direction for sure. Not due north, definitely not due north, but in that, towards that northeast direction from the southwest. For diagram 1, which letter location will soon experience a warm front? We have A, B, C, D, E. So if you can look on here, which one is a warm front? Don't expect you to remember it. It'd be good if you do, but you don't have to, I guess is what I'm saying, because it's on here, warm front, rounded. You have to know that in this case, it kind of acts like arrows. This warm front is moving this way as it spirals around the low like this. The cold front's moving that way. So which will soon experience a warm front? D is the answer, letter D. Okay, this one. 3, for diagram 2, list the type of front for each. Diagram 2 is here. It's continental, polar, cool, you can write cool here if you want, polar, tropical, warm, and then continental, polar, you can write cool. Whatever helps you on these diagrams, please take care. Please do it. This is for you. This here, what kind of front is that? X? Cold front. If you don't recognize that by the shape, if it's the front of the cold air moving into warm, make sure you know it. This is the warm air moving into the cool and getting forced up. So this is Y is a warm front. Warm front, cold front. With a red colored pencil, color over the entire warm, moist air mass on diagram 2. I have some red pencils here. I think I have some red pencils here. Here we go. So the entire warm, moist air mass, MT. So it's kind of this. Again, our coloring here is not about okay. All right, we have that. Five. On diagram 3, draw an L to indicate the center of the low pressure weather system. Okay, the key thing here is that you have to realize that the fronts generally extend out from a low pressure. So if you had no idea to do this, you weren't watching this video, hopefully this could be a good guide, okay, to show that this is the low here. But if not, you are watching this video, so draw an L. I'm going to draw it right here, L. Because the L is in the center. This whole area all around here is lower pressure, lousy weather. Air's moving in and moving upward, cloudy, rainy. Which letter location most recently experienced a cold front? So which has just maybe just moved past. So again, the fronts kind of move. This is the arrows on the fronts as it goes around the low, and then this is the arrows on the fronts moving this way as it spirals counterclockwise. So what did it most recently just pass? E. It just passed it and it's moving towards D, the cold front. You got to recognize it. That's cold front. Draw an arrow showing the future movement of the low pressure over the next day or two. I will do this with a Sharpie just to have a lot of stuff drawn on here. Don't forget that weather moves this way. Weather moves this way from the southwest towards the northeast. So my arrow would go like this. That's the way it's going to move. Okay. Good for weather forecasting, especially for us. It's kind of coming our way. All right. 8. For diagram 4, color the areas that are most likely experiencing cloud cover using a blue pencil. Okay. This one is going to be particularly tricky to do if you're not watching this, but luckily you are. So what you have here, and make sure you understand this, is that this is a warm front, and as we see, the clouds are generally out in front of a warm front. So your clouds are generally kind of out like this. And I'm coloring it blue right here. They're out in front a bit. If you can remember, let's maybe look in your notes at the page there. The cold front, much narrower band of clouds, and it's going to be kind of like, usually like right here, like right along it, kind of narrow. And then the low, as the air goes into a low and it rises, you get a lot of clouds right here. So you usually have like a lot of clouds right around a low, kind of like this, and then narrower band, and then out in front right there. Okay, that's key of where you get clouds at front, and sometimes it's even drawn like great or out this way, but it's usually out in front of this, right at the cold front, maybe a little bit in front of it sometimes, but generally like this, and then around the low like that. Okay, so thanks for watching. Make sure you hopefully you can understand this and really get this. Questions, come see me, because that's a lot of stuff students do have trouble with it. So Mr. Gath is signing off. Thanks for watching.